This episode is made possible by Red H Nutrition. Red H Nutrition is your one-stop shop for nutrition and wellness supplements. You can check them out in the show notes, and don't forget to use code RUNLIFTMOM, RUNLIFTMOM, at checkout to save 10%. Also, if you stick around to the end of the episode, you'll hear me interview the owner of Red H Nutrition about one of my favorite products. And as always, I'm a Zaya Active representative, so don't forget to get on my New Release Wednesday text message. Yeah, you heard me right. By going to newreleasewednesday.com, put in your phone number, and then you don't have to scroll social media all day come Wednesdays. I'm going to send you my favorite directly to your phone. Welcome to the Run Lift Mom podcast, where we're talking about running, lifting, and momming, not necessarily in that order. Today, I have the most inspiring mom for you to hear from, and it is by design that I'm airing this in October. I've got Lara MacGregor from Hope Scarves. Lara was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007 at the age of 30. And if you don't think that's bad enough, she was 7 months pregnant at the time with her second son. An experience that she had during that treatment led her to create the nonprofit Hope Scarves in 2012. You are going to hear from a woman who is hugely inspiring, but also a woman who was again diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer in January 2014. 5 years later, she's living with metastatic breast cancer. She is making a difference. I don't know how you can be more inspired than hearing from my new friend, Lara. So without further ado, Lara MacGregor of Hope Scarves. All right, welcome, Lara MacGregor of Hope Scarves. I'm so happy to have you here on the Run Lift Mom podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Lara, I want you to share your personal story with my audience. So I'm actually going to bat it back to you just to open up and to give us some background about yourself.
Yeah. So I have always been a healthy, active person. I think my parents were green before that was even cool. So I have always been healthy, eater, runner, active person. So when cancer invaded our world, it came in as quite a shock. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 30 years old and 7 months pregnant with our second child. And I had been leading a very healthy pregnancy, doing all the things, you're supposed to do to be as healthy as possible. And it just really came out of nowhere. I actually had gone for a 3-mile run the morning of my 7-month checkup with my OB. And when I went in, I was running through the list of questions I had, and one of which was this bit of discomfort I had in my left breast that I assumed was just pregnancy changes. And luckily, he was suspicious, and he immediately sent me off for a biopsy. And what we assumed was just a clogged milk duct basically set in motion a crazy spiral that has been the last 12 years. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and cancer is hard to hear at any point in your life. Certainly being 30 years old, no family history, and pregnant was really earth-shattering.
I just want to pause and make sure that people are hearing you say you're 7 months pregnant. You're a healthy woman. You're 7 months pregnant. Your nursery was probably getting, decorated at this point. I'm sure cancer was the furthest thing from your mind when you went in for that OB appointment and said, hey, this kind of feels funny on the left side.
Oh, yeah. I was completely an afterthought. The doctor was actually like halfway out the door when I was like, oh, wait, Dr. Sharp, I have this one other thing I wanted to mention to you. And, it was just not even on my, radar. But I am so fortunate that he was immediately concerned, and had an endocrine sensitive cancer, which means it was fueled by the estrogen in my body. And so this actual fact of being pregnant was like, feeding my cancer, which made it an even more dangerous situation. Having an estrogen sensitive cancer when estrogen is just pulsing through your body.
So they stage it at 2, but because you're pregnant and you know that estrogen is feeding it, wow, that is a very scary scenario. So at that point, I mean, do they take the baby or do they start chemotherapy?
We ended up doing a lumpectomy right away to see if we could just get clear margins and get the cancer out. We were not able to be successful in that surgery. And so I started chemotherapy, and I can remember just walking into the OB's office that morning, to the oncologist's office that morning. And the lady at the front desk actually told me I was in the wrong place, that the OB was on the floor above us. And I just looked at her with tears in my eyes and said, no, I'm in the right place. I'm here to see Dr. Harvey. And I started chemotherapy. Then I had a drug called adriamycin cytoxin, which is called the Red Devil. And it's so toxic, they have to pump it by hand into your veins. And, here I am leading this like incredibly healthy pregnancy, and I'm not eating, eating healthy, I'm microwaving my lunch meat, I'm not drinking caffeine, I'm just having, trying to create the most ideal situation for our baby. And I'm pumping toxic chemicals directly into my veins as I, rest my hand on my belly and feel our baby kicking. It was completely surreal, and it just been a really life-altering experience, for our young family. But we had 4 rounds of chemo together, my son and I, and so I lost my hair. So, I'm fully pregnant, bald. When a box shows up in the mail from a friend of a friend who I had never met, and it was full of scarves. And it meant so much to me to get these scarves from Kelly, because I hadn't really given much thought to losing my hair. I was so consumed with, the health of our baby. So it was a very practical gift as I was facing chemo, but also just so inspiring, knowing this other young mom had faced cancer. It just helped me have that same strength and courage, that she did. And so Bennett and I had 4 rounds of chemo, and then he was born healthy and at full term. And one of the kind of, laughable moments in the midst of all of this craziness was he was actually born with bright red hair. And I have no red hair in my family. And, it was just a complete kind of like surprise. But he'd had this red chemo, together.
The Red Devil.
Yeah. So he just kind of became known as our little chemo baby. And to this day has that same bright red hair. And, really is just a reminder, every time I look at him at, just the miracle that he was for our family, and just that he, is healthy. And in a way, the pregnancy was fueling my cancer, but I also think it alerted me to the cancer. I was 30 years old. I wasn't, going to have a mammogram for another 40 years or another 10 years, if I waited till I was 40, which now was even sometimes later than that. And then I, wasn't really going to the doctor on a regular basis because I was so healthy. So I think that pregnancy also brought the cancer out and helped us, be able to start treating it. And I choose to look at that as the, as a positive instead of the negative of the, being diagnosed while I was pregnant. So it did feel like that time in our life was kind of ripped, from us. And so to be just such a happy, joyful time of, welcoming a baby. And instead it was just wrought with fear and, sickness and worry.
The OB appointment. I mean, I love your point about, in a way, he saved your life, because you would have never been at the OB at that time to say, hey, doc, I'm feeling something strange.
Yeah. I mean, the pregnancy probably pushed it and made it grow, but it caused me to recognize it and feel it and take action. So, it was completely a crazy time for all of our family. I often explain cancer treatment as like living in an alternative reality. You're just completely existing, almost separate from the world, and it can be very isolating, even, surrounded by people who love you and care for you, but it can be really isolating. So then after he was born, I actually went back to chemo 9 days later. So I had to continue my chemotherapy, and I had 7 more rounds of another more toxic chemo that I couldn't have while I was pregnant with him, and followed that up with a double mastectomy and reconstruction. And I came home from those surgeries on Mother's Day to my 3-month-old baby and 2-year-old older son. And so it was, like I said, it was just a whirlwind of fear and worry, and, just being a young mom and, facing cancer. But, through all that, as, many people with early stage breast cancer, you face it with hope and determination and a clear path of treatment that, hope will be able to, put the cancer in remission. And that is what we achieved. So after about a year of treatments and, surgeries and chemotherapy, I had a clear PET scan and looked like everything was good. And so we were, came out of it really incredibly grateful for that. And gave me the opportunity to reflect on, all of the experiences that we had had. And one that just stuck out to me so much was receiving those scarves from Kelly. And so I reached out to her to get her address and see if I could send them back to her and thank her for sharing them with me. And she said, just find somebody else who can use them. And so I packed them up and took them to a conference for young women diagnosed with breast cancer. And I met a woman from Pittsburgh named Roberta, and I showed her how to wear the scarves and encouraged her at the start of her treatment, with the same love that had been shared to me from Kelly. And I realized that in passing the scarves on to Roberta, how much they meant not only in receiving them when I needed them, but also passing them on and encouraging someone else, and just sharing my love, and strength with someone else allowed me to heal. And that experience really became Hope Scarves.
So Kelly had undergone treatments and gone through what you were going through. And then you wore those scarves, underwent treatments, and then passed on to Roberta that same love that Kelly had passed to you.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. Can we pause for a second? I want to talk about Hope Scarves and what you're doing now. Can we pause for a second though? Can you talk to me a little bit about hair? Like, when did you start losing yours? Can you walk me through like what it felt like emotionally to lose the hair?
Yeah. I think the thing, first of all, that is sometimes a misunderstanding about treatment is that not all cancers cause hair loss. And so there's a lot of people in active treatment that are on endocrine therapy or in a chemotherapy that doesn't cause hair loss. And so there are definitely people facing cancer that don't look what maybe is like a typical like cancer patient look that we sometimes see,
I have to tell you, I mean, it's a different type of cancer. We lost my father to cancer. He had the thickest, fullest head of hair you've ever seen until the end. And the running joke was like, when's he going to lose? He had great hair until the end.
Yeah, I think that is sometimes one of the things, while at Hope Scarves, the original idea for the scarves was born out of my experience having lost my hair and wearing the scarves as headscarves. We've definitely evolved over time to realize that not everyone loses their hair and not everybody wears a headscarf. And so you can get a Hope scarf and use it in a variety of ways, but every scarf that we have in our collection does work as a head scarf because it ties back to that original experience, which when you're going through all your treatments of chemotherapy and surgeries and appointments, the hair loss piece for many people is a pretty significant hurdle, just because your hair it just all of a sudden you feel and look really sick, and it's an outward expression of, what's happening inside you with the drugs that you're on and the side effects that you're having. And just as women, you don't realize how much your hair kind of defines who you are and how you feel, beautiful until you lose it. And you not only often lose your hair, you lose your eyelashes and your eyebrows. And when you lose all of that, your face just changes and you feel so different. You just feel, not only, are you already feeling sick, you feel just that much more sick when you lose your hair. So if that is part of your treatment when you're going through cancer, and often, chemotherapy causes hair loss, that is where that Hope Scarf for me just provided this sense of comfort. I mean, functionality for one. I never felt comfortable wearing a wig, so I just always felt more comfortable in scarves. And then I could accessorize with colorful, beautiful fabric that was a reflection of what I was, really what I was hoping to bring into my life. That didn't always maybe feel as joyful and hopeful. But when I put on that bright scarf, it was a reminder to me that deep down, that light was still there. And, that really is what that Hope Scarf represents for people as we share them around the world.
I'm sure there's something too, like for you personally, knowing that Kelly, a woman who had been on a similar journey, had that scarf. There's something special about the scarf having belonged to a woman in similar shoes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like I could feel her strength when I wore it. It was not just like the other scarves that I had purchased, or had found along the way. That those scarves always carried just this extra strength. And the Hope scarf that we share not only have been, donated to us from survivors, and they also carry cancer survivors' stories. And that really is the piece that sets us apart. And what makes a Hope Scarf so special is that it's a scarf that you can, wear throughout your treatment, but it really is a vehicle for the story. And we have over 1,000 stories in our collection that come from people facing all different types of cancer, all different ages, ethnicities, geographic location, just such a variety of stories. But the common thread is this sense of hope and encouragement and connection. And so when we can share these scarves, I hope that each time someone wears them, they feel that same strength and love that, I felt when I got those first scarves from Kelly, and they feel that sense of connection to the thousands of other people who have worn the Hope scarves.
Wow. The concept, obviously it's heartwarming. Tell me a little bit, like, how long has Hope Scarves been a nonprofit? You just gave us a little, idea of how it's grown, but tell me, when you started, how many people volunteer, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I started in my spare bedroom of my house with my 2-year-old volunteer by my side, and, just kind of took this experience that I had with, Kelly and Roberta, and thought, how can I create the same sense of connection for other women? And so I wrote a business plan and, created a website and attended a couple conferences where I brought the idea, to the world. And it was just amazing, the immediate response that people had, that they wanted to share their stories. They wanted to give their scarves to someone else. And so we created a program where scarves are shared in 3 ways. So we have a personal request program where you can request a scarf for yourself if you're going through treatment for any type of cancer or experiencing hair loss from another, injury or illness. And then we have a gift scarf program where you can send a hope scarf to someone you know who is in treatment, and you can write a personal note that goes right inside with the package. And that part really grew from so many people asking me, what did you appreciate when you were going through treatment? I have a friend who's starting treatment. What should I do for her? And so the gift scarf program allows people to share a practical gift that also is really inspirational. And our gift scarf program is actually, just almost as high as our personal request. So I love that we can provide support to other people, supporting people they care about. And then we have a partnership program where we work with hospitals and other cancer support organizations around the country to have hope scarves where patients are already going for care, and they're shared directly with patients. So instead of a patient having to go online and request a scarf from us, they get it as part of their infusion, or when they go to a support group at their local cancer center. And we have 30 partnership programs in 14 states right now where our programs are shared directly with patients through our partner locations. And that's a really exciting growth area for us because it just brings, puts us right where the patients are and takes the burden off the patient of having to find us. So through those three avenues, so our personal request, our gift scarf, and our partnership program, we've shared over 12,000 hope scarves with people ranging in age from 2 years old to 97 in every state in the country and 24 other countries.
Wow, I know that you're proud of this work. It's amazing to look at the change that you've made, I'm sure, for these people who receive and gift scarves. Oftentimes, if we're watching a friend, I'm watching two different friends right now go through chemotherapy treatments, and I feel a little bit helpless sometimes. I don't know what I can do for them besides pray. And I'm a woman of faith, and I know that those prayers are important, but I love this idea because it's a tangible action someone could take for a friend.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's why the gift scarf program has just created so much traction is, everybody's been impacted by cancer in some way. And that sense of just wanting to do something and show your support to someone else is just, it's so prevalent. And it's been beautiful to see how, we've sent scarves from a group of coworkers to, an associate at work that maybe they didn't know well enough, to drive to chemotherapy, but they could send a hope scarf on behalf of, their group at work. We've had schools, classes send them to their teachers, and college friends, who are, miles and miles apart, and I can't bring you a meal, but I hope that each time you wear this scarf, you feel the love, from everyone in our sorority. And so, it's just, my dream for the gift scarf program is that it will become as well known as, when someone is affected by cancer, that, one friend says, I'm going to set up a meal train, and the other friend says, I'm going to get a hope scarf. And that'll just be the second thing you think of when you want to support your friends.
I love it. It goes far beyond wearing pink for awareness. I really love this. Can I get you, Lara? I don't want to glaze over this part. Can you tell us the difference between metastatic breast cancer and other types of breast cancer?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I was originally diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer in 2007. 7 years later, in 2014, I developed some low back pain that I thought was just some running discomfort. I had been training for a trail marathon and was doing a lot of trail running. But an MRI revealed I had a fist-sized tumor in my sacrum. And with a biopsy, we discovered that it was metastatic breast cancer. So that means the cells that were causing this large tumor in my bone were breast cancer cells. And that is what metastatic means. It means it's spread beyond the primary spot of your cancer diagnosis, so for beyond the breast tissue and breast cancer. And in metastatic breast cancer, it typically spreads to your bones, your lung, your liver, brain. It spreads to other places as well. Those are typically the primary areas. And what people don't realize is that breast cancer stage 1 through 3 are, treatable, and often once it's treated, it doesn't come back. So you're in remission, and you hear people living, long, healthy lives. No one dies of breast cancer in their breast. So that's like important for people to realize. If you have a friend who has breast cancer in their breast, it's hard. I mean, all of the story I just shared of all the experiences and the treatment and the scans and the, chemotherapy and the surgeries, it's very hard. But as long as it's contained to your breast, you can live. Mm-hmm. It's once the cancer spreads beyond your breast and becomes metastatic, it's a terminal diagnosis. So if somebody dies of breast cancer, they die of metastatic breast cancer. And we all know the statistic that 1 in 8 people, will be diagnosed with breast cancer. But what people don't realize is of people diagnosed with breast cancer, 1 in 3 will progress to metastatic disease.
Wow.
And that can be 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Yeah. It can be at any point after their initial treatment. And 1 in 3 breast cancer survivors will become metastatic. The average life expectancy with metastatic disease right now is 2 to 3 years. And 115 people die every day of metastatic breast cancer in the United States. And all of those facts were really kind of hidden from me as an early stage breast cancer survivor. And I think if you talk to most breast cancer survivors and many people who walk and, walks and, wear pink and celebrate, breast cancer during the month of October, this kind of elephant in the room is metastatic disease. And it is just not something that is talked about, and really was very eye-opening to me when I was thrust into, this metastatic world in 2014 to realize I thought I had a double mastectomy, no boobs, no cancer. How was I going to have breast cancer if I didn't have boobs?
Yeah.
That is not how breast cancer kills you. It doesn't kill you in your breast. It kills you when it spreads to other parts of your body. That's metastatic breast cancer or stage 4 breast cancer. And what's staggering, and very eye-opening to us, here at Hope Scarves and to me as a metastatic patient was how little that was talked about, how very few people understood that, and how even me as a breast cancer survivor, I didn't want to think about that. I didn't, I kind of maybe glanced over some of that information, and that wasn't me. I didn't want to read that part. I didn't want to think about reoccurrence. It's terrifying to early stage, breast cancer patients to think about it. But the reality is, I think we need to educate ourselves on the facts. And the scariest fact of all is that of all the millions and millions and billions of dollars raised for breast cancer awareness and, in the name of breast cancer, less than 5% goes to metastatic breast cancer research. So money that is used to save people's lives. Billions of dollars have been spent on prevention and awareness, and it's just time for a change.
Yeah, it fires me up because first of all, it's easy, right? It's easy to wear pink and paint everything pink, and pink is beautiful and it's kind of in fashion come October. But I mean, the numbers that you just threw out there, Lara, they are staggering. And so the money that Hope Scarves raise, I'm assuming goes directly to metastatic breast cancer research.
Right. So we have 2 funds at Hope Scarves. So one is our general fund, which helps fund our Scarves and Story program. It helps send scarves around the country and support all of our Scarf and Story collection and distribution. And we added a research fund after my metastatic diagnosis that is directly supports metastatic breast cancer research. And so when you give to the research fund, 100% of that money goes to metastatic breast cancer research. And we have an anonymous donor that matches every dollar 1-to-1. to double our impact on research. And so this my diagnosis shook our organization, and that we were like a lot of other cancer organizations, and that we were, sharing the happy stories of people who had beat cancer and, go on and live your life and, find, gratitude and a more meaningful, purpose after cancer and, sharing all these happy stories. And when I was faced with this terminal illness, it was like, what the hell? We're completely missing the point here. Like I could no longer find hope in beating cancer because that was not available to me. And so we took out all the language about beating cancer at Hope Scarves, and we changed it to facing cancer. And we talk about living life over cancer instead of placing our hope in beating it. We talk about just living each day and living a life of intention and gratitude, over this cancer diagnosis. And that allows us to encompass
over it. I love that.
Yeah. And it allows us to encompass advanced stages so much more than I think a lot of cancer campaigns that just talk about like, you're a warrior, you beat cancer. And then for someone like me who I have stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It is not going to go away unless we have advances in science and treatment options. Right now, there is no cure for metastatic breast cancer. But so that somehow I don't feel like I fit into this category of like beating it. And, like I'm less strong because I can't beat it. And I'm not, so we just changed all that language. And it really made our organization just a deeper, more thoughtful organization to recognize that whatever stage that you're facing cancer and living life over cancer. And that if we were truly going to change the way people experience cancer, that the scarves and the stories are inspirational and they're practical, when you're facing treatment. But if we really were going to change the way people experience cancer, we had to invest in science, and we had to be part of furthering understanding and finding more treatment options. And so our research fund focuses specifically on metastatic breast cancer. And we've raised $300,000 over the past 3 years, which has been matched 1-to-1 for a total investment of $600,000 in metastatic breast cancer research.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing. And I know that listeners like Jaw is on the, car floor, wherever they're listening to this. Yes, guys, you are listening to a woman that says, I have a terminal diagnosis. And I hope it fires everybody up to hear you, describe truly living life. I mean, you're taking life by the horns. No, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Unfortunately, you kind of know how that's going to happen. And I like that you haven't shied away. Instead, you are making an impact with your personal story.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy. I mean, after my original diagnosis, I went into a pretty dark depression and was really terrified and really scared. And the statistics and the reality was, it was horrible. And I lost many friends in the first year of my treatment that I had learned and, about, connected to, and then I just watched them die. And, I made a conscious decision, and I have to reaffirm, this choice almost daily, that I can't live in the perceived future. I have to live right now, today, and make choices that allow me to live with gratitude and joy. And I'm a person of action. And so I had to do something to try to help other people facing this disease. I realize that the work we're investing in, the science that, we're funding is probably not going to save my life, but it's going to lay, a couple, stones in a path that's going to lead us to advancing treatment options for other people facing this disease. And that's what we want to be a part of, that we have created a community here at Hope Scarves that is, about supporting each other and celebrating, our lives and the connection that we have and, our shared story of facing cancer. But then we double down on research to recognize that we want to try to be part of the change. And I think that's the message that, I am screaming from the rooftops this October. I was talking about getting on my hope box, and, that like as everything turns pink is, to really ask some questions about how money is being used. First of all, I think for, many, many years, we've been talking about breast cancer awareness, and I'm grateful for all the work that's been done to lead us to this point, because 30 years ago, people didn't even want to say the word breast. Right. It's amazing, the work that we've had in awareness, but now it's time to shift our focus onto research, and specifically on metastatic breast cancer research, because if we can find treatment options to make metastatic breast cancer a chronic disease, something that you can live with, with treatments, then the trickle-down effect to people with earlier stage breast cancer is incredible. If you don't have to fear, being the 1 in 3 that advances to metastatic disease and dies, we're all better off. And so I really encourage early stage breast cancer patients to not be afraid of the metastatic story or the metastatic patient, because they represent, your biggest fear, but instead, become their ally, rally around the need for research and the focus on supporting people with metastatic disease, just help understand the facts and demand more money for research.
I love this. I love it. You're definitely living life over breast cancer by shouting that from the rooftops, especially in October and through Hope Scarves. Lara, I want to take you through a few rapid fire questions, but I also want to let folks know if they're feeling as convicted to support your organization as I am, they can check the show notes where it's hyper rich link, you guys. Depending on the player you're in, you're either going to swipe up or you're going to click on details, and you can get details about Hope Scarves. Maybe you're sending a scarf to someone, maybe you're donating outright. I'm going to put all of that there in the show notes.
Awesome.
Are you ready to rapid fire, girlfriend?
Oh, I hope so. I forgot about this part.
Well, then this ought to get good. Tell me, actually, because I know we share a love for running. Tell me what your favorite run is. Do you have a favorite running route, like place to run or person to run with?
Yeah, so I would say any run that involves running by water. But my very favorite is when we are in Michigan, which is where I grew up. I have a route that takes me down this hilly dune side road called Murray Road, and it ends up at the pier. And it's about a 2.5 mile, or I guess about 1.5 mile turnaround point. So it's about 3 miles total, but I run as hard as I can to the end of the pier. And then I usually collapse, but I'm just, I'm out, just sticking out into Lake Michigan. And I usually do a little bit of yoga and meditation and just stare out at the water. And it's like a life-giving experience for me to do that run. And I have the incredible honor of doing it almost every day when I'm in Michigan in the summertime. And it is never lost on me, even the days when I have to walk it. It's just an amazing route for me.
I love that. I love it. All right. And then finally, tell me your advice that you would give your younger self. Maybe just something you would whisper in the ear of that 7-month pregnant woman who was going into her first treatment. No, I don't need the OB floor. I'm at the right place. What would you say?
Gosh. Oh, I think I would just say, hang on. I can't say, I think so often people say it's going to be okay. And that doesn't resonate with me, because there's been so many times in my life where it just wasn't okay. But that kind of comes back to that, not clinging to the, not, attaching hope to beating the cancer or to the okay, but to just hanging on and finding joy in the darkness, finding, your own light and not letting it go out.
I don't know of a better way to end this show, Lara. Your light shines so brightly. Thank you for bringing it to Run Lift Mom.
Well, thank you so much for being interested in my story and the story of Hope Scarves. I hope that it inspires people to, think before they pink and to check out Hope Scarves and support a friend.
Thank you. You guys, I don't know how you can hear a story like Lara's, a message like hers, and not be hype. You want to stand up and do something, right? Depending on the player that you're in, you're either going to click details or you're going to swipe up. In the show notes, they are hyperlink rich, and you can connect with Lara, send someone a Hope Scarf, or support the efforts at Hope Scarves, specifically with metastatic breast cancer. You guys, this is the month to do something, and it goes far beyond wearing pink. Until I get into your earpiece again, remember, for while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. That's from 1 Timothy 4:8, and this has been the Run Lift Mom podcast. Right, I've got Katie Danger with Red H Nutrition. Now, Katie, you have long said, if I can't do a product better than anybody on the market, I am not going to do it. So to this point, you have not had a protein powder available at Red H. Tell me what changed that and about Yes Way.
Well, what changed is that I saw a need in the market for an all-natural protein, naturally sweetened, and it tasted good. So once I was able to hit those 3 points, we've gone forward with Yes Way, our all-natural protein. It's sweetened with stevia. It's no-nonsense protein support. And what I mean by that is only 2 grams of fat, only 3 grams of carbs, 31 grams of protein. But here's the kicker. We added 10 grams of digestive enzymes because we want to make sure that we get the full absorption and there's no gas and no bloat. And it also comes in 2 amazing flavors, gooey salted caramel and vanilla ice cream sundae. So it's perfect for anybody looking for the additional protein support in their diet.
Hey, Run Lift Mom listeners, you know I'm the mom of 4 kids under age 5, and therefore I am always looking for ways to work smart, not hard. Anchor is the smartest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. First of all, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, but Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so then it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole lot more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is quite literally everything you need all in one place. And y'all, it's free. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you for listening to the Run Lift Mom podcast. This is a passion project of mine, and it started back in February of 2019. I simply wanted to uplift other women in the areas of running, lifting, and motherhood, and now I've got a Rolodex of inspiring guests that I can call friends. I'm having so much fun with this, and you can help. Rate, review, and subscribe. That helps people find the show. It keeps this great momentum going.